If we've been your job search besties and helped you in some way, there's a cool way you can support the show. Shout us a virtual coffee.
As an independent podcast, we couldn't do what we do without your support. Head to buymeacoffee.com/interviewboss.
If you keep us caffeinated, we'll keep the content coming.
You need to understand yourself in order to be able to communicate it, because a lot of what they might ask you about being a leader, being a manager, you need to actually have thought about it before. You need to reflect.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Interview Boss. My name is Emma. I'm a radio journalist who's teamed up with my sister to give you advice, inspiration, and support when you're looking for a new job. Sarah is a HR and recruitment professional, and together we're excited to give you all the tips, tricks, and behind-the-scenes knowledge to help you in your career.
Hey, Em, and welcome back, our wonderful listeners. It's time for our very favourite part of every single episode. We give you guys a shout out because you shouted us a coffee. It's the Shoot Your Shot shout out. So this is for our incredible listeners. You're all around the world. We are celebrating your wins right alongside you. And this week we're shouting out Kyle. He bought us 5 coffees. He's helping us make this episode right now. Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah, he said, "Hi, Emma and Sarah. I would like to thank you both so much for the helpful advice on your episodes. After 6 to 7 months of interviewing and trying to find the right fit, I was able to land a job that I believe is the right fit for me with many opportunities for growth. The reason behind this move was for personal reasons, and I was leaving behind a job that I held for over 5 years. It was actually quite difficult to land a job that was the right fit for me. I had many swings and misses, like making it to the final round 3 times prior to finally getting this role. But your episodes deep diving into your best bits and really thinking and doing the hard part was much needed to keep persevering. I was able to connect my experiences and skills that I'd acquired over the years to the job description and tailor my stories to what they were looking for. After the final interview, I knew I had left it all out on the field. The very next day, the hiring manager called me and said that the team loved me and that I would be a great fit. I was so excited that I'd finally done it. After accepting the role, I even listened to the episode on how to resign from your job, as I never have had to before. Thank you again for all your help. I cannot wait to start this new chapter in my life. I will forever recommend and listen when the time comes again for another job search. Thank you, Kyle from Columbus, Ohio."
Oh, that is incredible. Congratulations, Kyle. I love the fact that you talked about doing the thinking and the hard bits. And hey, it doesn't always end with, oh, and it was my dream job and it was the first one I went for and I put it all out there and it all worked. There were multiple opportunities that Kyle had and they didn't turn out. It didn't work. But he hung in there. He kept doing things. He kept learning. He kept persisting and he landed something that was really awesome. Sometimes that's going to be the way that goes.
Yeah, it's unrealistic to expect that, the first or second interview you ever do once you decide to start searching will be the one you land. It takes time. It's a numbers game. And so glad that we had an episode for every kind of situation and part of the journey that you were on.
Now, if you need a little bit more support than what Kyle did, you want to work on some of your best bits, you need help with your intro or your story, you should check out Interview Academy. We go through every single part of the interview prep process and make sure that you've got all of the details that you need to nail that interview. If you've already got the basics down pat and you need maybe a more in-depth help with something that you're not sure about, something a bit curly, or you want to do some practice, you can do a one-on-one coaching session with me instead. Check out all about both of them, interviewboss.com.au/coaching, and see which one's right for you. And you can learn directly from me, either at the same time, live over Zoom, or through all of the incredible videos, workbooks, and stuff that I have poured into. And you don't have to be on the same time zone as me.
Yes, as always, if you loved one of our episodes, used a great tip that we gave you, kindly follow us on Instagram, slide into our DMs, and if you have a conundrum or a situation that you're wanting clarity on, you can send us a message and we might dedicate a whole episode to you. And that is exactly what we're doing this week. This series, this 2-part series, was inspired by our listener Beth, who was wanting some advice on going for a leadership role when she'd be managing the team that she's currently on, but she's never led a team before. So last week, part 1 was all about the mindset component of applying for your first manager level role. And this week in part 2, we're going to deep dive and talk about the kind of questions that you might get asked in a manager interview and some general tips on how you can navigate those questions when you might not have done the exact thing that they're asking about.
Yep. And I've thrown in as well some general tips for first-time managers as well. So let's get into thinking about answering manager questions that you are going to get asked potentially. Now, number 1 tip that I can give you, self-reflection. I know that sounds like a weird tip when it comes to like, how do I answer a manager question? You probably wanted something a little bit more detailed than that. Well, I'll break it down. You need to understand yourself in order to be able to communicate it. Because a lot of what they might ask you about being a leader, being a manager, how you're going to do things, you need to actually have thought about it before. You need to reflect. What do you want to do? How do you normally do things when it's up to you, or when you're leading someone, or when you're in charge in some way? So have a think about, how will you go about starting in the new role as the new manager?
That's good, because since you can't really give exact examples of what you've done in the past,
yes,
you need to be able to give a hypothetical of what you would or might do. So if you've given this no thought, that's going to be a little awkward.
Yes, and particularly even more important for someone like Beth, who is in the role currently and is going to be promoted. That's even more to think about, because you know the team, you know the people, you know the context, you know what's important, what's not, what they need, what they don't. There's so much more for you to consider, as well as how are you going to go managing people that were previously your colleagues and now suddenly you're the manager. There's all of that to kind of think about as well.
Yeah, so some things that you can think about is how you would approach things based on what you know about your line of work.
Would you be really hands-on, offering help to everyone and getting in and doing bits for them if they got stuck? Are you the kind of person that is going to let the team make the decisions for themselves because they know exactly how to handle stuff? They know what to do. You're a little bit more hands-off. You're letting them take the wheel. You're letting them make their own decisions. You're letting them have a bit of freedom. Like, what do you know about your team and the way that it needs to run? And how will that fit with the way that you would like to show up as a leader or a manager?
Yeah, and think about what kind of manager you would like to be. You've probably had a handful. Think about the ones you didn't like and why, and the ones you loved and why, and base this on what kind of colleague you already are. I think this is important because we're not dreaming up a fairy tale that we're just going to be this whole new person. Think about how you already help people, how, you know, when a colleague's having a hard day, how you come in clutch to support, like the things you're already doing, but that you would do from a more authoritative position.
Yes. And I think this is really helpful, particularly when you have thought about other managers that you want to be like or don't want to be like. You might be very different to those people. That's not a bad thing. You don't have to suddenly transform into managing exactly the way someone else does. If you are a bit more quiet and reserved and you're not the kind of person who's going to run big team meetings and tell everyone what the plan is and launch into, here's what I need you to do for me, then that's not how you're going to do things. You don't need to do things like that. That's not the only way to be effective. You can actually have lots of one-on-ones with your team and check in with them and catch up and set the agenda with them. You can support and make sure that they know that you're there if you need them, and do things that are more true to how you are as a colleague already. And I'm sure you already have insights into that. Once you're in this position of being able to step into manager, you've probably been a senior member of the team. You probably kind of know what it's like, how you tend to act around new team members, how you tend to act around things that you're in charge of. Use that as a starting point.
And if you're external, think about how you'll learn how things work in your team. Are you going to go undercover boss and do their job for a day and get in the trenches? I'm big on that. If I like worked in an ice cream shop and we got a big new manager from head office, I want to see her scooping hokey pokey and seeing what it's like on the front line before I take direction from her.
That is true. That is true. I think that can work really well in some cases. Like you need to actually go and see what that role is like in order to be able to support your team properly. So if you don't get out in the business and understand what's going on, then you may not be able to support your team in the right way or make decisions the right way. But I also don't love the idea that some people have where a manager should be able to do the job of all the people that are underneath them. I don't think that's right. Because then in order for someone to be a CEO, they would have to be able to do every single person's job under them. And that's just not the case. Like you have experts in their field and you're taking their insights and their expertise and letting them take care of that area. You need to understand, like, the getting in there and getting your hands dirty and understanding things is so that you get the context of what they're talking about. That part is really important. If you never visited the site that the work gets done, how are you going to understand that like the break room is actually freezing and they really do need a heater in there in winter?
The break room is ice. It's an igloo and we constantly run out of bubblegum ice cream. It's terrible.
And they like
the floor's always sticky.
The mop that they have is just absolutely not cutting it. You're not going to really understand those things. You're just going to hear, oh my God, why are they buying another mop for? Don't they already have a mop? Do they really need one? If you get out and see these things, you're going to be like, oh yeah, this is actually really important. That's going to make a difference to the team. I get the context. So this is a weird example in the ice cream store, but we're going to roll with it.
All the staff have RSI in their wrists from just scooping that ice cream.
I don't know how you're going to fix that one. That's a harder one. Maybe you need different scoops.
Just empathy.
Or maybe you need to turn up the freezers a little bit, have them be not so cold. Like that ice cream needs to be a little bit softer.
I used to work in a cafe and I used to hate when anyone would order thick shakes because I'd have to do 3 scoops instead of 1 scoop compared to a milkshake, and my wrist would nearly snap off. And our cousin would come in and order a chocolate thick shake specifically because I told him that once.
That's evil. That's so good. Emma's got empathy for the ice cream scoopers out there.
I do.
And look, I know that probably not many of you listening are going for jobs managing ice cream stores, but there are lessons in what we talk about. I know you're smart enough listening to this to generalize with these ideas. And as we're talking about this stuff, for you to go, oh, I know what that means for me. That's how you need to use this. It doesn't have to be your example that we use necessarily.
Another thing you need to think about is how you plan on developing your skills as a manager, because you won't always get formal leadership training. You're not always getting whizzed off to a conference for 4 days, getting armed with the skills to do this.
Yes. And look, we can talk about how you absolutely should and how that is a real problem in today's organizations, that they promote people to manager or they bring people in as managers and they don't tell them or give them the expectations of what they need them to do. I could honestly have a whole podcast about that topic, honestly. Like that's a huge part of the job of an HR business partner, is to help managers be better managers. And so it's something I'm very passionate about. But we don't prepare you here for like what an ideal world is. We prepare you here for what you're actually going to face. And you won't always get formal leadership training or even a mentor, even any kind of way to learn things. So how else can you learn and develop? And if you do get formal leadership training or learning and development or whatever it is, then amazing. You can do that on top of all these other things. And some of these things that you reflect on and think about in advance and jot down, there might be questions about these kinds of things, or we'll get into a little bit later. You might be able to use these as an add-on to a question that you weren't really sure how to answer or you didn't have a lot to say about. Well, I haven't had much experience with that. Here's what I might do, and here's how I would maybe find out how to handle that better. Here's how I would maybe learn. Here's how I would get better at those skills. Like you can add these bits and pieces on to whatever your answer is to make that even stronger, to show, hey, I'm really keen to do this. I might not know it now, but I'm ready to learn it.
And that might look like finding a mentor, reading books, finding free resources online, just trying things, bit of trial and error, learning on the go.
Asking your team, learning from other people in the business, getting advice from others. All of that might be, a a more formal kind of asking someone to be your mentor, or just asking someone who you know, hey, your team seems to have, really good whatever it is. Can I ask you how you do it? Can I ask you're the top performing ice cream store in this region. How do you have such a great team? What are you doing differently, do you think? Oh, it's all in the hiring. Oh, okay. I might think about how I do hiring next time. Whatever it is that they
all get free scoops.
Yeah.
So they love it there.
Maybe.
And they're very happy and full.
They rotate who has to be the scooper. Maybe that's the secret. I don't know.
Yeah.
Someone might give you some really good tips.
So it's important to remember that you won't always know the answer or have an example, and there's nothing wrong with admitting that you're not sure. This person knows prior to the interview that you haven't been a manager before, from your resume, from knowing you, especially if you're internal. So that says something. They believe you deserve an interview even though you haven't officially been a manager before. So you don't need to bluff your way through this.
And we talked about so much of this with that mindset in our previous episode. If you haven't listened to that yet, go back and listen to that, because that really shows up as soon as you start getting into questions that you're trying to answer. So if they're asking you something, tell me about a time where you've had to give some difficult feedback to someone in your team. Oh, I haven't done that before, and you're panicking, right? It's okay to say that you're not sure, or that you haven't done that before, or that you've given feedback to people but it hasn't been someone you've managed. You've seen other people do it, but you haven't been involved. Like, you can talk about, here's some other things that do relate to what you're asking about, but it's okay to say, I haven't done that before. It shows humility, honesty. You can also throw in a growth mindset there as well. If you add, how would you learn about it? How would you find out? What are some principles that you think might apply? Who would you go to for advice? Explain your thinking. What's your reaction to that? What would you do next? Like, what are some things that you would keep in mind? You go, oh, I've never had to deliver difficult feedback. God, I don't even know what the right answer is. And put yourself in the shoes of, if you actually had to do it, oh, well, I'd want to make sure that I had the conversation with them somewhere quiet. I like to pull them aside into a different room, make sure that they're not really busy at the time, and just raise it with them directly. Have a conversation about it, make sure that I was being clear, give them an opportunity to ask me questions, and then maybe follow up with them a day. Like, you don't have to know all the answers. Just think, okay, what would I think about if I had to actually do that right now? Sometimes that can be great. You've got a couple of good instincts. You might have missed some stuff, but that's all right.
And if you're having a blank, think about having a difficult conversation with a family member, a friend, a partner. Like, we've all done that before. So just think of the principles of that. You would speak calmly. You would try to not get emotional, keep it neutral and matter of fact, all those things.
Yep. Or maybe when a manager has had a difficult conversation with you, maybe they did it well, maybe they didn't do it well. Like, all of that is stuff that you can learn from and potentially use in an answer. Hey, Interview Boss listeners, if the podcast just isn't doing it for you and you need way more help to prep for your next interview, we have the perfect thing for you. Interview Academy. Em, tell us all about it.
This is huge. This is the love child of Sarah after doing hundreds of one-on-one coaching sessions, finding out what people struggle with the most, common mistakes. Sarah has created the ultimate course that you can do in your own time, self-paced, heaps of modules, videos, interactive quizzes, a workbook that will become your Bible by the end that you can take with you into your interview, because if you're a long-time listener, you know that we endorse taking notes into your interview. It's a game changer.
Check out more about it at interviewboss.com.au/interview academy. So I thought, rather than going through, here's 10 questions that you might get asked if you're going for a manager interview, we do have a interview questions database. Go and check out the episode about that, and go and check out our resources page if you want to have a look at that, and you can go through some example interview questions if that's helpful. But I thought what might be more helpful, and I've used this before to help friends and family members and stuff prep for manager job interviews, is some general tips on things that managers should be doing in a perfect world in most organizations. This is going to be relevant all the time. But I thought that this might give you some things to think about and some things to mention. Even if you don't know exactly how this stuff works, they're really great tips that you may not have heard in this way before, and they could be helpful.
So, first one, this is important. also, I feel rarely happens, regular catch-ups with your team members. So whether that's weekly, fortnightly, monthly, quarterly, whatever makes sense for the context, but it should certainly be more than once a year.
Yes, 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 yes. This is just textbook, like foundational manager stuff. And so this may not have occurred to people if they've never been in this kind of role before. And so this might be something that you can weave into an interview question or an answer if you're talking about what might you do with the team, what's a way that you like to keep in touch with everyone, build relationships, whatever, that you could potentially use this in a lot of different ways. Now, what people get wrong about these check-ins is that they think it's just like, hey, Emma, what are you going to do this week? Okay, great. How did you go with it last week? Oh, good. You're just talking about work, day-to-day stuff. You're going to have conversations like that, like infinitely, all the time. Like you're going to be just constantly in between all your meetings chatting about, oh, did you get that done today? Oh, thanks. Where's that paper at? Whatever. So these check-ins should not just be going over their work and what they're actually doing. Instead, you want to be talking about them and their role as a whole. How are they going in general? How are you going? I know that, you've just been trained on the milkshake maker. Have you been enjoying kind of working in that? Has that given you a bit more variety on your shifts?
And also their goals. Well, I really want to learn how to do the coffee machine. Would love to get skilled in being a barista and work out how you can support them to achieve those goals.
Yep, absolutely. How are they feeling in general? Are there blockers that you can help them get rid of? You don't have to do everything for them. You're not necessarily coming out of this meeting with a million actions for you to do for them. In fact, that can kind of get you caught up because you say that you're going to do them all with the best of intentions and you don't get around to them. Actually, that's really not great. You don't want to overpromise. So what are some actual things that you can do? Don't promise or don't make the recommendation unless you think, oh, yep, great, I can fix that. I can roster you on that next week. How are they feeling in general? Are they working too much? What are they working on? What's going on with them outside of work? How are they feeling about their relationships inside the team or inside the business? Are there people that are getting in their way? Is there stuff you need to know about? That's what you're going through in your catch-ups.
It's mostly about just making yourself available to your team members. Like, so much stuff would end up coming up just because they're there and then you open up. Whereas managers that are chronically unavailable, there's just never any chance to let them in.
Yeah. And that catch up has to be in context for your team. So if I was the district manager coming into the ice cream shop, instead of just chatting to my store manager with everyone around, I might take them for a coffee or go for a walk. Or if it's the manager of the store talking to one of their team, maybe you're sitting in the break room, you're pulling them to the side or to a different area while not everyone's around them listening. Or maybe it's while you're closing the store, you're going to catch up with them. Whatever kind of makes sense for you and your team in the context.
Next, listen to your team, to the issues that they're running into. Try and find opportunities to clear any roadblocks that are coming up. So is there software that they would really love but they don't have access to or a license for? Or, can they get approval from IT to fix an annoying tech problem or any way to make their life easier?
And come back to them. If you're not able to fix something or you haven't heard back or it didn't get approved or you're not sure what's going on yet, just update them. I swear, just that one thing can be the difference between someone seeing you as a good supportive manager and someone going, oh, they just never do anything for me. I just stop bringing issues to them now because it never ends up anywhere. And I promise you I've seen this where two managers, one where the team was like, nah, they're unsupportive. And obviously there's other bits and pieces about how they act and stuff too. But one, they're unsupportive. They never get anything done from us. The second one, oh, they're so good. They've just made such a good impression. That second manager that came in, all they did was listen to the team and they went back and said, oh, look, I know you guys really want to change the way that system does X, Y, Z. What I can do is this thing, but yeah, unfortunately it's a bigger problem and I'm going to have to leave that with IT and I don't think it's going to get fixed, sorry. But you've come back and told them, hey, look, I looked into this for you. I heard you and I did something about it and here I'm coming back to update you. Sorry, I couldn't get it done. Even just that, you feel like, wow, they actually really care. They tried. They took this somewhere. There was an attempt. My manager's got my back. If it comes up again, they're going to know about it.
And it's the best feeling when someone does that. The whole like, hey, just wanted to let you know I haven't forgotten. I've done this, this, and this. I'm on it. And you might not have even been thinking about it that day. And as soon as they say that, you suddenly go, oh, all good. Don't even worry. Like, no stress. But it just feels so nice that they were so worried about it. They just wanted to get on the front foot and let you know that you're on their mind.
Yep. And like some of these things can be just so simple. Like, is your team member, have they not got their uniform yet? Can you fix that for them? Can you just get them a jacket, get them a shirt, get them a whatever? Like, is there something small that you can just make that problem go away for them? Those are such easy wins as a manager coming into your team.
And another big one, address issues with performance or conduct as soon as they come up. Don't let anything fester.
Yes, this is a great one. If you get a question about this, again, I feel like these topics are so much more useful to you than knowing what questions you might get asked. Because even though you may not have known this or thought about it, you can kind of say, okay, well, look, I don't know how I would handle that. I've never had to do that before, but I know that I would want to talk to them about it straight away because I don't want to let these things build up and get worse in the background. Even if it's really little, I can just have a very informal chat with the person and talk about it as soon as I can and give them the feedback. Hey, Em, I know that you just served that customer. How did that go? Can you tell me about what happened with that customer and get their perspective? Okay, cool. I did overhear the bit at the end when they asked that question about could they have another serviette? And I think that potentially you could have handled that a bit differently. I wanted to talk you through what you could say instead next time. It's such a small little thing, but I've addressed it with you and you go, oh, cool, thanks. We move on rather than listening to little bits and pieces happen over and over and over. And then suddenly I'm saying to Emma, you have bad customer service. And it's a big conversation, but Emma's never heard any of this before. And she's just gobsmacked that, what do you mean all of this is suddenly an issue? And she's going to feel like you're suddenly targeting her. It feels weird. It's like, what? You've always been here every other time. And I say all sorts of stuff to people. And then now it's a problem? What's changed?
Yeah, it's terrible. And always put these things in writing as a manager as well. It doesn't have to be formal. You don't need to email HR to say, oh, so-and-so sounded a bit stroppy when the customer asked for an extra serviette. But it could be in your notes after the conversation that you had with them, or email it to yourself, save it in a doc, or you could email it to them to follow up and just say, just confirming what we spoke about earlier. But a paper trail is good for these things.
Even just for yourself. Like, it doesn't have to be formal. It doesn't have to be a big deal. Even just a notebook that you have that you're able to come back to and say, on this date, spoke to Emma about this. Whatever that kind of looks like. If you've got some kind of a system, use the system. You'll get so many brownie points with your manager and HR and everyone involved if there's like a system that you can put a little note into that you've spoke to Emma about this. And you're just keeping notes on all your team and all your conversations. Spoke to Emma about her wanting to do barista training, said I would look into it for next year. Like, adding all of those notes that you're having on all those conversations to the same place, really, really great.
I need to take a deep breath before I read this next one because this is so triggering. Don't blame the company to save face with your team. This is just, every second manager does this. Like, if it were up to me, I would give it to you tomorrow. But, you know, so-and-so, they're just the roadblock. They tight. They're just, this department stuffed this up. And so, unfortunately, we all can't. Awful.
It's not good. It's really not good. People, I swear, I'm speechless. I'm getting all tongue-tied with my words. Do you know how much managers blame HR when it's actually just got nothing to do with me at all? It's got nothing to do with HR. Actually, the manager is the one who decided that you weren't performing. I didn't even know you existed until 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, I don't even know who you are.
I certainly don't take your performance personally. I am just here because the managers asked me to, and then they're blaming me. Or I've said to them, okay, here's your budget for your team's increases. First of all, I didn't also decide that. That's some other executive. I'm just a middle person in this whole thing. And the manager decides to split that up in a certain way. Oh, HR said you can't have a pay rise. Oh, did they? Okay. In very small circumstances, something like that may actually be the case. And maybe it is helpful to share it with your team so they understand how things work. But most of the time, when you shift the blame, you feel like you want to do it because you don't want to take the blame for this decision that somebody else made. That's why. You don't want to have to say, it wasn't me, I didn't do it to you, Emma. Like, don't hate me. I'm on your side. It's someone else that's against you. But what the unintended consequence is, it makes you look powerless, and it makes the team feel like they don't have any control. Things are just happening to the team and their manager can't do anything about it.
This is so true. Whenever I've been told this in the past, it makes me feel like, well, what's the point? I won't bother doing any of that or fighting for any of this because these things are set in stone and it's the way it's going to be.
Yep. And it makes people feel like they've got no channels to actually get anything done either. Like it makes them feel like, well, who can get things changed here? If I really feel strongly about this and I want to do something about it, what do I do next? Because my manager is telling me that we've got no other options. My manager's given up because they've just told me, oh, it's not me. I've already tried. If they can't do anything, how are you meant to?
Yeah, so you have to own decisions when they come through. You don't have to be positive or thrilled about them, but you need to be able to deliver the message from the business. So instead of saying so-and-so says we're not allowed to hire anyone, step up to the problem and say something like, unfortunately, our budgets are tight at the moment, and so we're not going to get approval to hire that role. I know that means we're all a little stretched. Let's talk together as a team about what we prioritize, what we can share the load on, and what we can drop for now.
Yes. Do you see how you're not having to say it was my idea to not hire anyone? Like, that's not what I'm saying. It's not about like saying it was your idea. I don't think we need anyone. That's not the point. You're just not pointing to someone and being like, they did it. You're owning it as a business and saying the company's budgets are tight and so it's not going to be approved. Now, I understand XYZ is a consequence of that. So here's what I can control as a manager. You're not going to be able to control everything. You can't hire 1 million people. You can't get all the software that you want. You can't get whatever approved. But there are things that you do have control over. You may be able to get certain work deprioritized. You may be able to say, well, the timelines are going to shift on delivering this because we can't achieve it anymore. We used to do this because it was nice to have. Well, we can't run that report anymore. Somebody else is going to have to do it. Like there are things that you will be able to control, even if it's just who shares the work.
Yeah. Another great reminder is not to take every single thing to your boss. So you're not an individual team member now, you're a people leader, and your job is not to have a running list, a tattle list of every single thing or request or idea that your team or problem that arises within your area. You're kind of like the first line of defense to filter that out, and then you only escalate once you can't handle it.
Yes, this is so important, and I see people do this all the time. And the consequences are that they can't get things approved when they do need to get them approved because their manager sees that they just bring them everything willy-nilly, whether it's important, whether it's not, whether they've thought it through or whether they haven't. And so if we go back to our ice cream store example, if you're constantly asking for things, the team need a new mop, the team need a heater, oh, the team need this, oh, the team whatever. And as soon as your manager looks into it, actually they've realized you do kind of have a heater. It's just in a different room. And if you brought it out there, that would kind of fix that problem. And then, oh yeah, maybe you do need a mop. But like if you're not filtering those things and giving them ideas and coming to them with certain stuff and saying to the team, yeah, look, that's not a priority for now, but what we can do is this, and bringing certain things up to your manager or bringing certain problems or concerns or ideas, that's going to go a lot better. You have to choose carefully what you want to go into bat for.
It's like the boy who cried wolf.
Yes. I want to promote all of my team. Every single one of them deserves a pay rise. Every single one of them needs to get a promotion. Even if that's true, even if that is genuinely actually true, you maybe have the best team in the entire company. Maybe that is objectively true. It's still not going to work to try and do all of that at the same time. It's just never going to happen. You have to pick, what are you going to do first? Hey, I'd like to talk to you about some changes in my team. I really think that we could restructure a couple of people's roles, and I think some people are ready for some additional responsibility, and I want to see what else we can take on as a team because of that. I don't know. Like, how are you going to put forward certain things rather than going, oh, this person wants a pay rise. Oh, this person wants a pay rise. Well, which ones do you really back? Which ones are you like, no, we have to do this one. This one, let me have a conversation with them because they need to lift their performance in some areas.
Well, there is a little crash course guide to being a manager, if only it was that simple, but it probably has given you some good insight into the kind of do's and don'ts to help you with your hypotheticals in an interview where you don't have real life experience to speak to.
And Give us some examples. How do you think, if you were listening to this and you were going into that interview, going into that role thinking, okay, I've got to answer some manager questions, would those bits and pieces have helped? How would you be thinking about using them?
Yeah, I would use them as hypotheticals. So if they said, how would you manage being the boss of your former friends and colleagues or something, I would just maybe use the thing about addressing any issues straight away so that it doesn't fester and resentment can't build. I would maybe say use some of these as like an opening statement before I go into my answer. So I might say like, yeah, I really believe that, it's not good to blame the company. We have to be a united front here. So I would really be united and echo the sentiments of other executives, for example, or yeah.
Yeah, you could use that before you actually went into an example. Well, look, I haven't done exactly that before, but I really believe in catching up with my team. I would want to be doing that every fortnight, where I would have something in the calendar to check in with everyone. I haven't done that before, but what I have done is when I was training someone, we actually started every week with a little catch up first of how things were going. And just I gave them an opportunity to ask some questions. And I found that worked really well just because we had that time booked in. They were able to kind of ask me about things, and other stuff came up that they may have not wanted to ask just because we had that time booked in. Do you see how I've given an example? I'm not that person's manager. I was just training someone, but I'm showing all of the skills and traits that you would want in a manager. I'm ticking the box without necessarily having a direct answer or a direct example for having done that before. So I hope you got a little bit of inspiration from this episode and from some of these tips. Those are some of the things I saw most often. And I think if you know those and keep those in mind, you might find that they come up in your interview. Thanks so much for listening to Interview Boss, all you future managers out there. If you like hearing the sound of our voices, follow us on Apple or Spotify, or better yet, tell someone else about the show. You can do that the old school way, in person, send them a message, or you can rate and review the show wherever you're listening. That's how we can hit the charts and help even more people all around the world and keep bringing you more great content. For more advice, inspiration, and a supportive community, check us out on Instagram @InterviewBoss and chuck us a follow. Can you believe we started Interview Boss in 2021?
Not really. It's insane. That's a lot of episodes and a lot of hours of talking.
Oh my gosh, it is. And if you're scrolling through all of our episodes, you might scroll straight past something that you really, really needed.
Yes, we're always getting messages from people asking us to do an episode on something, and I'm like, we already have.
So we've put together playlists to help you find the episodes that are exactly what you need, suited to your situation.
They're all categorized. If you're applying for jobs, we have episodes about resumes, cover letters, job ads. If you've been offered your dream job, we have episodes on resigning, exit interviews, and how to impress at your new company.
And we even have a very special playlist that's very popular for if you have an interview coming up immediately and you need just our most recommended hard-hitting episodes between now and then.
For all our last-minute listeners. It's all there for you. You can browse by category and check out all the playlists at interviewboss.com.au/podcast.